This is environmental soup, um, and I'm talking about the Ontario's speech from the throne. I'll wait a couple minutes for um, some people to join, and I will put my headphones on so there's less distractions. Um, headphone. Okay. Yeah. Currently, there's one minute. Oh, I'll set my message to public. Um, yeah, I might have to figure out. Yeah, once I get used to doing more streams, I'll start posting on all the social media platforms. Um, and then yeah, just yeah. So it's 4 o'clock now. So uh, doesn't look like there's that much interest today. Admittedly, I didn't really put a notice out too far in advance. But I'm learning. Um, so why am I talking about the speech from the throne? The speech from the throne um, gives a sense of government priorities um, and the direction that the province is going. Some of the values that the government um, prioritizes, and if you want something addressed, changed, it's a good idea um, to think about what the speech from the throne says. So I will play some of it. Well, in my voice to text. I thought I could. Oh, maybe I thought there was a way to say. Maybe I just have to refresh it. Is this the right one? I'm just going to see if this is the right one. Okay, so that is the screen that I'm showing. Um, well, folks, I will look up like some of the words that might be in environment. And environment shows up 2 times. Um, and I think this is a good exercise to look up how many times certain words are mentioned. Um, maybe highway. So like this is a good example. The word environment. Oh, that's environment mentioned 3 times. Three. Highway 11. So let's say climate is climate 0. So 0 times um, people 20 times. So people highways is mentioned 11 times. People 20 times. Environment 3 times. Maybe subway 2 times. And then economy. Economy is mentioned 7 times. Yeah, so I'll just see if anyone's in the. If you're in the chat, welcome. Um, please feel free to suggest anything that you would like to discuss, especially in terms of um, the speech from the throne. And then I will see if this one has a different screen. Oh, maybe. Okay, maybe this one's. Okay, so this one. Hmm. Okay, well, I think I can get it to work. What I was planning on doing is letting a screen reader read it. Oh, um, okay, but I do have that. Um, it'll just be on a separate page that the volume is coming from, and hopefully it captures that. So I'll just set that up on the other page. Oh, yeah. So I have to start it from the beginning.
August 9, 2022. Office of the Premier. Table of Contents. Content. Related topics. Speaker of the House. Honorable members.
Yeah, and I'll just um, pause it um, every so often to give some of my commentary. Um,
Members, ladies and gentlemen, people of Ontario. Honorable Stiputes, Ontarians, et Ontarians.
um, yeah, so this Microsoft or internet feature doesn't really do anything bilingual that well, and indigenous names are not always pronounced correctly. Um, and I just want to mention that. Um, so right off the bat, it doesn't look like there was um, the language at the beginning seems binary. Um, so that might be so that's an issue. Um, Potentially. Well, it is an issue. There should be non-binary language. Um, I guess people of Ontario counts as non-binary. Um, yeah, that's worth having a conversation about. Um,
Ontarians. I want to start by acknowledging that we are on lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous peoples. They continue to care for this land, they continue to shape Ontario today, and I want to show my respect.
well, I my thoughts on this is it's a good statement. Um, but my thoughts are that the government has moved ahead without uh, prior consultation. Kawartha Downs being an example. First Nations governments have went to courts regarding consultation. Cove Lake, um, First Nation, Hiawatha, I believe. Um, Various municipal zoning orders. Um, so, and then those the government got rid of the uh, indigenous curriculum in schools, science based curriculum. Um, so I don't know how the government can claim that they are being respectful. Um, or this might be the lieutenant governor speaking. Um, as well, nations is not capitalized. I think nations should be capitalized. Um, Indigenous nations.
Traditionally, Toronto has been a gathering place for many Indigenous nations including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat and Métis peoples. I acknowledge we are meeting in the area covered by Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, and I pay my respects to the Mississaugas of the Credit. As the representative of Her Majesty the Queen, it is my privilege to open the first session of the 43rd Parliament by delivering the speech from the throne. And I wish to congratulate the members present today, both new and returning. You have been entrusted by the people of Ontario to ably and thoughtfully represent their interests. This is a responsibility none should take lightly. The decisions made at Queen's Park, the People's Legislature, are far-reaching. They touch every person in every part of the province. As members you will disagree, sometimes if not often passionately and with conviction. That is the nature of a healthy democracy. However, with the province, country, and world having been through so much, and as we face new and looming challenges, now is not the time for partisanship and ideology to trump the virtues of partnership and collaboration. The people of Ontario rightly expect their government to work with others in common cause and in service of delivering real solutions.
Okay, yeah, so this comment about not being the time for partisanship and unity. There's a lot of cases that the government um, hasn't been um, entirely unifying. Um, they've made divisive decisions that don't always consider um, everyone. Um, uh, and I'm not entirely sure if if that beginning section was part of the speech, but it was listed on the government website. So yeah, I'll continue.
Solutions. They can have confidence that their government will do just that. Because now is the time for unity. A unity of people. A unity of purpose. Here in Ontario, across Canada, and around the world, we are witnessing a growing sense of uncertainty with no historical precedent for the unique circumstances facing the global economy. New variants of COVID-19 are having an uneven impact on different regions of the world, with some countries implementing economically disruptive measures once again. Inflation has hit levels not seen in almost 4 decades, with no broad consensus on the speed with which it will return to normal levels. Global supply chains first disrupted by the pandemic remain stressed, further exacerbated by Russia's unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine.
Okay, yeah, so the first mention of COVID-19, it was about economic disruption, not about health disruption on health. Um, I find that interesting that that would be um, the first concern. And the mention of uneven impacts, that seemed more about health. I mean, more about economy than about how concern about people's health. And I know people are still dying as a result of COVID-19. Um, and people are still getting sick. Um, and those are massive issues that need to be addressed. Um, so it just shows the government's priorities on on that. So I'm just going to play the play it again.
Nearly 370,000 jobs currently unfilled, Ontario is facing a generational labor shortage with the lowest rate of unemployment since 1989. And unprecedented spending throughout the pandemic has created new fiscal challenges here in Ontario and across Canada that will require prudent economic management in the months and years to come. It is sometimes easy to consider these challenges in the abstract, but they have real and significant consequences on the lives of hardworking people and businesses. People are now paying more for everyday goods like groceries and gas, putting increased strain on household budgets, particularly for low-income families. Long-planned vacations are being put on hold as small family pleasures like a meal out at a favorite local restaurant become just a little out of reach.
Okay, yeah. So those focus on the price of gas in a climate emergency, um, and helping low income families. There's no support for people who rely on mass transportation, um, and increasing subsidies for fossil fuels will result in increased use and increased greenhouse gas emissions. We know that climate change is happening um, more rapidly, um, and weather events are becoming more intense as a result of climate change. There's the massive extreme heat in Europe. Extreme heat happened in Peterborough too. Um, and then yeah, so that's um, something to think about. And then some of the labor shortages are a result of workers getting sick, potentially. Um, there's no there's not a lot of precautions anymore. Masks are completely optional, um, and and yeah, there's no longer any requirements to get vaccinated. Eh, well, there's less requirements to be vaccinated as well, and um, as the strains continue to mutate, it's going to be a huge issue going forward. Um, and it sounds like there's going to be fiscal restraint, meaning that the environment is going to be an afterthought. And a lot of times, the environment is the first item to be cut. So I will go to back to play.
Businesses of all sizes are struggling to find the skilled women and men they need to grow, or the
So this is another clear example. Men and women. No binary option. Um, no non-binary option. um, so it's excluding a large chunk of the population. Um,
parts they need to take on more orders. Amidst this scarcity, the rising cost of labor and supplies may in turn increase the cost of goods being sold to consumers. Taken together, these looming fiscal and economic challenges cannot be understated or ignored. They must be confronted head-on. And there are no easy solutions.
So, yeah, it doesn't seem like they're going to increase wages for any workers. Um, so that's disappointing as well. So I will move the screen down a little bit.
Solutions. In response to growing inflationary pressures, the Bank of Canada has started to increase its policy interest rate. While the full impact of this response is currently unclear, Ontario, like the rest of Canada and North America, must be prepared for the possibility of a near-term economic slowdown. Even as the province, country, and world navigate a period of uncertainty, your government can be sure of the fundamentals of a strong, vibrant, and successful province and economy. Low taxes and a competitive business environment that attracts investments and creates good jobs. A highly skilled workforce prepared for the jobs of today and tomorrow.
Yeah, low taxes sound good, but they don't fund necessary improvements or social services that are needed to effectively manage provincial government. A lot of departments have been gutted from years of cuts, so they're not effective at all. Um, so that's my thoughts on that.
Tomorrow. Roads, highways, and other critical infrastructure that help get goods and services to market sooner. Livable and safe communities with good schools and high-quality hospitals and long-term care homes, as well as convenient transit options.
Yeah, it's interesting that roads are mentioned first. Well before anything about environment. Um, and um, this indicates a continued open sprawl policy. Um, and yeah, and then in terms of um, high quality hospitals and long term care, it's important to attract workers by paying them fairly. Um, and I think it'll come up somewhere um, about attracting locals. Um, so that's oh yeah.
Options. Over the past 4 years, Ontario has come so far. The province's automotive and manufacturing sectors are breathing new life. Shovels are in the ground on transformational transit and transportation projects. More women and men are entering rewarding careers in the skilled trades. Now is the time to redouble these efforts. Your government is steadfast in its commitment to a path forward focused on economic growth, not painful tax hikes or spending cuts. And to achieve this growth, the province will continue implementing its ambitious plan to build Ontario.
Yeah, well, I would argue that there's already been painful cuts as a result of the low tax uh, in Peterborough. There's no compost collection. That's a painful cut as a result of the government. Um, be- because it will decrease the lifespan of Peterborough's landfill. Um, there's been cuts to transfers to municipalities. Um, that's painful. So they're passing on the blame to municipal governments a lot of the time. Um, so I will move the screen down. And they talk about making uh, a health care system that's better for patients, um, and they don't want to return to lockdowns. I I think that's irresponsible in case things get worse. Um, and if you want to build a better healthcare, you have to have proper health inspections that the government got rid of in long-term care. Um, and yeah, um, Russia is the new world order. Oh, thank you for the comment. Um, I, I don't believe Russia is new world order. Um, but we all are in a conflict, and that conflict is complex. Um, and um, but yeah, Russia was mentioned in the throne speech, and that's the topic of today. Um, there was what was it? Yeah, there was economic sanctions, food uncertainty around food, um, fossil fuel. So that's one reason to transition away from fossil fuels and not subsidize gas like the government is currently doing. Um, So I'll just go to where I was. Yeah.
With current variants for the long term without returning to lockdowns. That's because Ontario has one of the highest COVID-19 vaccination rates in the world, with booster doses now available for all adults. The recent approval of a pediatric COVID-19 vaccine by Health Canada has meant the distribution of thousands of new doses specifically developed for the youngest and bravest of Ontario's patients. At-home antiviral medications are helping to keep thousands of people healthier and out of hospitals, particularly those most at risk of negative health outcomes. Free rapid antigen tests continue to be provided directly to Ontarians, as well as to workplaces, schools, hospitals, long-term care, and retirement homes. Over 145,000 standalone HEPA filter units have been deployed to improve the safety of spaces like schools, child care centers, and hospitals, as well as long-term care and retirement homes. And this fall, Ontario expects Health Canada to approve a new COVID-19 vaccine that will better target and protect against Omicron variants of the virus. When available, the province will be ready to get shots into arms as quickly as possible. It is nothing short of remarkable how quickly the world's scientific community has and continues to develop breakthroughs that are protecting people's health and keeping them out of hospital. These same breakthroughs.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. That like early on in the previous government, um, or the same government, but last term, there was issues with distribution and unequal distribution, and it what and the tests weren't widely available. The, the there isn't really access to PCR tests anymore. The more accurate tests, uh, unless you're traveling to a different country. Um, so that so that statement is kind of misleading, in my opinion. Um, yeah, and then I'm just going to go down a bit.
Breakthroughs are helping to provide a level of stability that will be critical as your government continues to support the health system recover and rebuild as our province and economy stay open. After decades of underfunding, your government has made unprecedented investments in the health system to add over 3,500 new hospital beds and thousands more nurses and personal support workers to care for patients.
Well, I would make the case that Ontario is still underfunded. Um, in terms of healthcare, um, mainly because of the underpay of nurses. With inflation, um, nurses are getting pay cuts if they're only limited to 1% wage increases each year. Um, so um, that results in undervaluing a lot of the staff. Um, and then cutting inspections for long-term care homes uh, early on in the last term. Um, that that's part of underfunding as well. Let's see. I'll go back to where I was.
Patience. Your government eliminated requirements for Canadian work experience that disadvantaged internationally trained healthcare professionals
Okay.
and continues to work with regulatory colleges to ensure more qualified newcomers to Ontario are helping to care for patients, not waiting in limbo for years on end.
Um, yeah, I don't want to be like entirely negative. I think um, eliminating work requirements for Canadian work experience is a good thing. Um, there's a lot of unnecessary barriers for new immigrants that'll uh, that can demonstrate that they have the skill. Um, I I wish that it was done a lot earlier, um, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, so I might change the speed, and
And
hopefully you can still
rural and
understand
remote
it.
regions have for years now struggled to attract healthcare professionals. That is why Ontario introduced the new Learn and Stay grant, which pays for the full cost of tuition and supplies for high-priority health professionals like nurses in return for committing to practice in an under-served community after graduation. Ontario is also investing $1 billion more to expand home and community care so more people can receive the support they need at home rather than in the hospital. And Ontario recently launched the largest expansion of medical school enrollment.
Okay, yeah. If that's too fast, please let me know. And I think that I like that those alternatives are being discussed um, than the hospital. Home care. I've had home care. I've had good experience and bad experience with home care. Um, so if that's expanded, um, I think less people will go to hospital. Um, what I do want to see is a lot of the social determinants of health, like housing, um, poverty, be addressed in the healthcare. Um, and um, yeah, yeah, I don't know if people will see anything in the chat if they. Yeah, from my experience, they won't see anything in the chat if I post something. Um, yeah, so
Enrollment in over a decade to increase access to family and specialty doctors across the province. Your government is also making the largest investment in the province's history to build and expand hospitals across Ontario. Communities like Brampton, Windsor, Ottawa, and Niagara, places that have for years been advocating for health infrastructure that meets the needs of their growing regions, will soon see shovels in the ground. And Ontario is on track to make good on its commitment to build 30,000 new long-term care beds by 2028, with 31,705 new and 28,648 upgraded beds now in development. With these
I'm just changing it so that the screen keeps up to date. Oh, hello. Uh, welcome. Um, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Dan Klee. I'm just giving my commentary on the um, speech from the throne. Um, and and please let me know if it's too fast. Um, um, I'm using uh, the computer to speak.
These new beds under construction, the province is investing nearly $5 billion over 4 years to hire the more than 27,000 new staff that will be needed to provide long-term care home residents an average of 4 hours of direct care per day by 2025. While these historic investments have helped to support the province's health system through the most challenging period in modern history, there's no question it, like health systems across Canada, continues to experience significant pressures, including an exhausted workforce and increasingly stressed emergency departments. Amidst these pressures, Ontario's health system continues to provide care to those who need it. 9 out of 10 high-urgency patients are finishing their emergency visit within target times. Surgeries are happening at nearly 90% of
Okay, yeah. I don't think 9 out of 10 emergency rooms is good. Well, it sounds good, but in an emergency situation, hopefully you're not one of the 10%. And nursing emergency rooms have, in the news reports at least, they have been uh, uh, shut down um, in some of the near some of the cities. Um, and yeah, and then more needs to be done. I think that um, increasing salary for nurses should be a key priority. And then social determinants of health.
Juns will soon see shovels in the ground. And Ontario is on track to make good on its commitment to build 30,000 new long-term care beds by 2028, with 31,705 new and 28,648 upgraded beds now in development. With these new beds under construction, the province is investing nearly $5 billion over 4 years to hire the more than 27,000 new staff that will be needed to provide more can still be done. Your government is actively engaging with health system partners to identify urgent, actionable solutions, and will implement whatever measures are needed to help ease immediate pressures, while also ensuring the province is ready to stay open during any winter surge.
Well, I'm not entirely sure that that's true. That they'll implement any measures. They're not going to double ODSP, which will reduce wait times. They're not going to increase salaries for nurses by repealing Bill 124. Those are two things that the government could do immediately. And then they still have binary language. Uh, Making everything non-binary will um, will help a lot of people feel more respected and valued in society. Um, and yeah, they do say that they'll put in more money into like home care, which is something that I like. So it's um, but they have demonstrated that they're not doing everything that they could, in my opinion. Um,
Surge. As your government addresses short-term stressors, it will continue to invest in and advance meaningful reform that in the long term builds a stronger, more resilient health system that better meets the needs of patients. For example, Ontario Health Teams, which are integrating care and helping to take the guesswork out of navigating a complex system, will soon reach full provincial coverage as they help to increase the digital and virtual care options available to patients. Community paramedicine programs are leveraging the considerable talents of the province's paramedics to care for people at home, rather than in hospital or long-term care. The province will continue to work with system partners to safely expand scopes of practice so that qualified professionals can do more to help their patients, alleviating pressures in other parts of the health system. Ontario will also continue to make historic investments to implement Roadmap to Wellness, your government's plan to build a connected and comprehensive mental health and addiction system. This roadmap will reduce wait times for services, helping to avoid crisis care that requires hospitalization. Ontario is also working with Runnymede Healthcare to build the first ever center dedicated to treating post-traumatic stress injury for first responders, who carry a special weight for us as they protect our communities. As the province continues to pursue these reforms,
yeah, I like that aspect. Oh, I saw a comment. Um, I'm not a Canadian. When it says the throne, does that mean the British monarchy? Yes, it does. Yeah, the Canadian monarch is the same as the United Kingdom monarch. Um, and the lieutenant governor represents the queen in the government. Um, the lieutenant governor represents the queen and reads what the government's priority in the speech, um, and it's more of a figurehead, a figurehead role, largely a ceremonial. Um, there's some powers, but um, largely like everything that's like approved. Um, there's a lot of cultural events that the lieutenant governor would go to. At the federal side, um, the lieutenant governor would um, go to. The lieutenant governor would be the governor general. Um, so and then Ontario is the provincial government. Does that answer your question? I'm hoping it. Hopefully it does. If not, please let me know, um, and hopefully you find uh, the stream useful or uh, um, informative, or you still enjoy it. Um, and may I ask? Oh, thank. You're welcome. Yeah. And may I ask? Uh, which country you're coming from? Uh, if you don't mind. Oh, Norway. Oh, cool. Yeah. I heard that it was extreme heat in Europe, uh, um, at least a couple weeks ago, did it make it to Norway? The extreme heat. Oh well, that's good. That it hasn't hit Norway. Hopefully, haven't had too much rain. Just the right amount. Yeah, I was just in. I came back from a vacation in the United Kingdom, and it hit there as I was leaving. Um, yeah. So yeah, well, thank you for staying on the stream and joining from Norway, and I'll go back to where I was. Um,
Reforms, it will not be limited by conventional thinking that stifles innovation and preserves a status quo that struggles to respond to growing challenges and changing needs. Instead, guided by the best evidence and the successes of other jurisdictions, your government will take bold action that prioritizes patients and their health above all else. It's what Ontarians deserve. It's what the women and men working on the front lines of our health system need. These efforts will only benefit from the federal government paying its fair share of healthcare funding. Like every other province and territory from coast to coast to coast, Ontario continues to urge the federal government to increase its share of provincial territorial healthcare spending from 22% to 35% through the Canada Health Transfer. Together, let's build an economy with better jobs and bigger paychecks. Ontario is now firmly on track to become a leading electric vehicle production capital of North America.
um, yeah. So yeah, and I hope that this isn't too fast for you. The um, what's it called? Um, the when the computer reads the documents. Um, yeah, in terms of I like electric vehicles in terms of having less environmental impact than traditional. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad that it's not too fast. It's my first time I using that feature, um, so yeah, I like electric vehicles, but I don't think that it's I I think that electric vehicles is being shouldn't be the only or the main environmental measure. Um, and um, it, if the if if there's still a lot of open sprawl practices, more highways, it's still going to lead to like habitat destruction and environmental damages that way. Um, and um, there was a lot of totals in Ontario that are unfortunately um, being being injured. Um, a lot joined production. So, oh yes, yeah. I agree. The chat says, from my understanding, electric vehicles pollute a lot during production. So I think that we should place more focus on public transport, bike roads, walkability in cities. Um, yeah, there was a life cycle analysis. It's important to look at something from the entire lifespan. But yes, there was um, impacts from mining. Um, there's definitely environmental impacts, even with electric vehicles. Um, and I agree that uh, public transportation, bikes, and walkability should be a focus. It doesn't seem to be um, a focus in Ontario. Oh well, thank you, Dank Lee. I, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I I appreciate that you joined the stream. Um, yeah. So yeah. I do think that they should be more of a priority. Expanding urban sprawl um, is something that um, I think should be deprioritized. Or yeah, there's some issues around around expand paving over. There's a lot of issues around paving over farmlands and stuff like that, wetlands, and building more compact cities um, where people want to live will address that. So I'll go back to where I was.
Over the past 2 years, the province has secured a string of historic investments in its automotive sector worth nearly $16 billion, including $5 billion to build Canada's first large-scale electric vehicle battery plant. These investments are creating thousands of new direct jobs in communities like Windsor, Oshawa, and Loyalist, and will support hundreds of thousands of indirect jobs across Ontario. These investments and jobs are no accident. For the past 4 years, your government has been hard at work creating the conditions for a stronger economy. Ontario has reduced the cost of doing business by $7 billion annually. At the same time, your government has kept taxes for people and businesses low, while making strategic investments to improve the province's competitive advantage. Clean, green steel is by far the best example. With the support of the provincial and federal governments, Algoma Steel in Sault Ste.
Oh,
TS to transition to electric arc furnaces, powered by Clean Ontario Energy. These 2 projects alone are the equivalent of removing nearly 2 million cars off the road every year.
okay, yeah, I like the idea of clean steel, improving that industry. Um, I don't recall seeing anything else in the video. Um, where was it? Oh, yes. I want to see if I'm at the right end of the page. Clean green steel. Okay, clean green steel. Oh, I have to plug in my laptop. Yeah, it's being plugged in. So I'm just going to check it. Um, yeah. Um, so I'll see where it goes.
Your government is actively engaging with health system partners to identify urgent, actionable solutions, and will implement whatever measures are needed to help ease immediate pressures, while also ensuring the province is ready to stay open during any winter surge.
Oh, I think I think I lost my page, so my place in the page. Um, for some reason, I have to go on two different browsers. So I will find it. Oh, here I was.
Surge. As your government addresses short-term stressors, it will continue to invest in and advance meaningful reform that in the long term builds a stronger, more resilient health system that better meets the needs of patients. For example, Ontario Health Teams, which are integrating care and helping to take the guesswork out of clean, green steel is by far the best example. These efforts are only supported by Ontario's abundant supply of critical minerals, including nickel, cobalt, and lithium. Recognizing the unprecedented potential, the province has released its critical minerals strategy, a 5-year blueprint to better connect mines and minerals in the north with the manufacturing might in the south, including Ontario's growing electric vehicle and battery manufacturing capacity. The cornerstone of this strategy is found in the Ring of Fire. Located approximately 500 kilometers northeast of Thunder Bay and covering about 5,000 square kilometers, the Ring of Fire is one of the most promising mineral development opportunities in the world and represents a transformative opportunity for multi-generational development.
Yeah. So, yeah, that sounds good. There is one major complication. Um, there's a lot. The Ring of Fire has a lot of wetlands, and not just any wetlands. These are like bogs and I think bogs and fens. And they store a lot of carbon. Um, so by damaging those wetlands, you the government could be causing more damage than to the environment um, than they are helping reduce carbon emissions. It would be interesting to find a study on that aspect. Um, yeah, that is something that's of interest. And um, yeah, and then I read an article about that in Norwell. Norwell. It's a newspaper. Um, I I don't have a lot of time today to look at it, but I can do that on a future stream for sure. And yeah, so it's not black and white is what I'm trying to say. Those complications.
Development. A project of this size and scale requires an unyielding commitment to partnership and cooperation. By working collaboratively with First Nations partners, the province is now in the late stages of environmental assessments and design work to build the first 2 sections of the road to the Ring of Fire. And recently, chiefs from Webquie and Martin Falls First Nations submitted the terms of reference for the Northern Road Link, the third and final road necessary to complete the all-season connection to the province's highway system. This corridor of prosperity will not only bring economic growth and opportunity to Northern and First Nations communities, it will also unlock the full potential of Ontario's economy.
Um, yeah, it's oh, hi. It's nice to. I'm glad that you joined. I'm just getting into the uh, section on the Ring of Fire, um, and the throne speech, giving commentary, um, and yeah, I was about to say it's important to um, recognize that um, traditional First Nations um, aren't always usually. I'll say usually they're not recognized in government decision making. Unfortunately, and it's and sometimes the government will pick like this government, this First Nation government supports um, this project, but not um, consult with every First Nation project. I not consult with every First Nation, and unfortunately, like projects are like um, what's the word? It it should go beyond consultation. Um, um, so let's see, where was I? Oh, I should see if the screen is. Sometimes the screen gets ahead of recognizing the. Oh, yeah, I should go move the screen down. Oh, there's more about electric vehicle. Oh,
Economy. Your government is investing in and connecting every part of the automotive supply chain. The cars of the future will be built in Ontario from start to finish by Ontario workers, delivering better jobs and bigger paychecks to hardworking women and men. From minerals to manufacturing, the province is building up homegrown supply chains.
so yeah, more of the binary language, um, multiple times, and huge focus on electric vehicles. Not not really anything else. Until well, there was steel. I guess so that I guess that counts. But yeah, like oil on the stream. I looked at what some of the items were. Climate was like uh, in terms of like mentioned in the speech. Climate was like 0. Subway was like 2. Oh, it kind of rubbed off, but like highway was mentioned like 11 times, and environment was like mentioned like 3 times. So I just find that interesting. Uh, the how little they value the environment. Like highways mentioned like so many times, like in comparison to like environment.
Chains that will ensure every region and every worker benefit in this once-in-a-generation opportunity. In the months and years ahead, your government will continue to do what has served this province's economy so well: cut red tape, keep taxes low, foster an environment that attracts global capital, and make targeted investments that strengthen Ontario's competitive advantage.
Yeah. Oh, they're putting highways over the environment, literally. Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Like um, yeah, those and the impacting endangered species are. Um, I read about that read about that, and they try to hide it from the public, like um, that they're damaging the environment. Like it's mind blowing. Like um, and then like yeah, as I meant, I don't know if you joined when you joined, but I was talking about like the Ring of Fire and how that highway uh, will the development there might be worse than the mineral development, like, in terms of climate emissions. Like, it'll be something to worth doing an investigation into. Um, okay, yeah. So what was it?
Advantage. Amidst growing uncertainty, the road ahead will not always be easy. But Ontarians can rest assured that their government is, and will remain relentlessly focused on protecting the strength of the province's economy. That is why your government's first act will be to retable Ontario's plan to build the 2022 provincial budget, which provides a clear roadmap for the years ahead as your government navigates looming economic uncertainty. Your government also recognizes the need to support those who aren't able to participate in the province's economy, particularly as inflation drives the cost of living higher. Ontario's plan to build will now include a 5% increase in payments made through the Ontario Disability Support Program.
Yeah, a lot of people on ODSP are calling for double, at least doubling ODSP. Um, like an increase is good, but it's not enough to support someone living with ODSP. So that part is frustrating that the increase is so low. And it's not just like the conservatives that have kept it that low. It's been low for decades. I would say people they haven't been increasing the support as fast as inflation. Um, and I think it was frozen at one point. So um, yeah, people can't those and then those people choosing medical assisted death, medical assisted is it suicide that they call it? Um, over the government supporting um, people with disabilities, which they should support people with disabilities a lot more than 5%. Um, um, oh, I think it's time to move down. Uh, they all tying it to inflation. Um, but
Program. In the coming months, your government intends to introduce changes that will increase ODSP rates annually, tied to inflation. Your government will always be there to support those who need it. Together, let's build the highways, roads, and transit infrastructure needed to keep Ontario moving. Over the coming decade, Ontario is expected to grow by more than 2 million people. As it does, it has never been more important to invest in building transportation infrastructure. Doing so is in equal parts a social and economic imperative. Clogged roads and gridlocked highways not only keep busy moms and dads from getting home to their children sooner, they trap transportation trucks from getting goods to market, costing more than $11 billion across Ontario's economy every year. Ontario cannot afford to hold its economy back. Now is the time to build.
Yeah. Yeah. There's more binary language, but and more uh, worlds. I have read that like once you build a you can expand a highway. Um, I'll have to find it again, the article again, but um, once you expand the highway, people will fill up that highway, and then you have the same congestion issue. Um, and, and you don't have unlimited space to expand all these roads without impacting endangered species, wetlands, and people's houses. Like people live near some of these highways. So yeah, I think it's important to invest in uh, houses. I mean, invest in mass transportation, walkability, as was mentioned earlier in the chat. Um,
Build. Your government is investing a historic $86.6 billion over the next 10 years to build and expand roads, highways and transit infrastructure across Ontario, including Highway 413 and the Bradford Bypass.
mm,
Highway 413 will serve Halton, Peel, and York regions, and will bring real relief to the most congested transportation corridor in North America. It will reduce travel times by up to 30 minutes each way during rush hour on their commute, saving drivers up to 1 hour per day and 5 hours per week.
oh, yeah. Well, that 30 minutes is disputed. Um, uh, I think it was like as low as I, I might be wrong in the quote, but I think it was like 30 seconds or something like that. Um, I do remember that it was like very fall apart what the government was saying and what a previous environmental study was saying when um, the previous government was in power, the liberals, um, and yeah, the environmental consultant said it indicated that it wouldn't really reduce traffic congestion that much. Um, so yeah, I just find that interesting that um, they would use the 30-minute.
Week. The Bradford Bypass will serve the rapidly growing communities of Simcoe County and York Region, and help alleviate traffic in the Greater Toronto Area by saving drivers up to 35 minutes per trip compared with existing routes on local roads. Your government's investments in roads and highways are not confined to communities around Toronto. Widening Highway 3 from 2 to 4 lanes between Essex and Leamington. Rebuilding more than 21 kilometers of Highway 101 through Timmins. And twinning the Garden City Skyway Bridge along the Queen Elizabeth Way over the Welland Canal. Each of these projects, among many others, will help to reduce gridlock and support economic growth across the province.
Yeah, I love how they like specifically say that it's not uh, restricted to Toronto. Like they go all the way. It's not just Toronto. Like I think that should be like a meme. Not just Toronto. I don't know that much about those particular roads systems. Um, uh, but I know that based on the 413 and Bradford bypass, they might be controversial as well in terms of the environment. Um, but I don't know enough to comment about them. So we'll go. Oh, okay. So it's time to go down in the screen. Oh, I'm using the wrong one. Okay. And I'm just going down to where it should be. Okay, I'll leave it there because it'll catch up. It'll catch up to where it is. Um,
As part of its historic investment, your government is also building the next generation of transit infrastructure,
wait.
including the largest subway expansion in Canadian history with the all-new Ontario Line subway. The province is also investing in expanding GO train service to Bowmanville, London and Niagara, and to the people of northeastern Ontario. Your government will bring the Northlander train to Timmins and back home to Cochrane, restoring a key passenger rail line that will better connect the north to central and southern Ontario. Together, let's build the workforce.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's something I do like the rail line. I I I I wish that that wasn't the only like transit that they'll focused on. Yeah, I remember that there was a lot of controversy around the cancellation. Um,
Workforce we need today for the jobs of tomorrow. Amidst high rates of employment, Ontario is facing a generational labor shortage.
oh, those the jobs of tomorrow. That should be a meme as well. Workforce for the jobs of tomorrow. Wait. Yeah, I guess they like repeating some of the um, slogans.
Shortage. It is welcome news that so many businesses in the province are looking to hire. But employers' inability to find workers to fill jobs is costing Ontario's economy. It's never been more important to get more women and men trained for rewarding careers in the skilled trades.
Well, could it be that locals are not it's difficult for to hire because the jobs aren't paying an adequate salary, um, and people are getting sick. Um, just a thought. Um, that's
Trades. That is why your government is investing more than $1 billion in a skilled trades strategy to reduce the harmful stigma around the trades, particularly for women and young people, while expanding training opportunities to help build the most highly skilled workforce in North America. This includes expanding 3-year college degrees for in-demand fields and partnering with union-led training centers to provide people with the skills they need for new and exciting job opportunities. Your government is also breaking down barriers that prevent out-of-province workers and newcomers from finding good jobs in the trades. Ontario has the jobs. The world has the talent. As your government continues its extensive efforts to get more women and men into the skilled trades, it is once again calling on the federal government to urgently double the number of skilled workers that are allowed to immigrate to Ontario each year. Your government has been clear.
well, yeah. Hopefully they treat the if they're increasing the number of skilled immigrant workers or laborers. then they should treat the locals better. Um, in the case early on in the pandemic, um, that's where a lot of COVID cases happened in um, manufacturing and food processing plants that had a lot of immigrant laborers. Um, so there should be safety, increased safety, as well as pay um, for them.
Clear, the current allotment falls far short of what the province's economy needs. As your government takes action to fill immediate labor gaps, it is also taking a longer-term view of building the workforce of tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Well, another time. Uh, so I think it's time to move the screen down a little bit.
With close to 1 out of every 5 job openings set to be in the skilled trades by 2025, your government is ensuring that students learn the skills they need for these rewarding careers. After the past 2 years of pandemic disruptions, it has never been more important for students to be in classrooms learning, preparing for the jobs of the future. Ontario's plan to catch up starts with students back in classrooms, on time, and with a full school experience that includes extracurriculars like sports, clubs, and field trips. Nothing is more important. It also includes new tutoring supports to help fill gaps in learning.
Yeah, the school trips that that is not part of a collective agreement. A lot of those are voluntary, um, according to some of the teachers that have been in the news. So I think they're trying to strong arm the strong arm teachers into like um, a collective agreement. Um, I don't know exactly what they're trying to do with that statement. I do agree that students should be learning, but there should be like safety, um, and uh, yeah, and I'm not sure what else I was going to say, but um, yeah, I think I think I'm getting close to where the end of the speech is.
Learning. As a first step, your government launched a new province-wide tutoring program supported by a landmark $175 million investment, the largest of its kind in the country. On average, nearly 50,000 students are benefiting from this program each week. Ontario's students and their parents can always use a little extra help. When reintroduced, the 2022 budget will now include an additional $225 million over 2 years to provide direct payments to parents to help their kids catch up. This funding, which will put money directly into parents' pockets, is on top of the more than $26.6 billion the province is investing in public education, the most ever in Ontario's history. These new and expanded supports will be critical as students catch up on their learning today and prepare to participate in the dynamic economy of tomorrow.
Um, yeah, I don't know how much um, the statement the billions of dollars is. Um, I did hear that like the education minister didn't like the idea of increasing pay for education workers, um, and that's disappointing. And
Tomorrow. Together, let's build more homes that people can afford. Owning a home provides a sense of place and pride in a community. For decades, it has offered families economic security, even during turbulent times. But as Ontario's population has grown, housing construction has not kept pace. Now, like much of Canada, Ontario is facing a housing crisis that is freezing young families out of the dream of home ownership. With more housing starts in 2021 than in over 30 years, your government's policies are working to get more homes built faster with the ultimate goal of building 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years.
yeah, those with my comment on that is there's a lot of environmental destruction in that, and overruling municipal uh, uh, democracies in some cases, um, ignoring some of the provincial policy statements, which are there to protect both people and the environment. Um, yeah, it's and while it is important to house a lot of people, um, I don't think that the government is going about it the right way, and they're relying too much on urban sprawl policy.
While this is welcome news, more needs to be done. As the province continues to grow and as Ontario welcomes more newcomers in search of economic opportunity, the crisis will only get worse. That is, without bold action. That is why Ontario will continue to provide the tools municipalities need to break through the logjams that have historically slowed the speed of housing construction, including enhanced authorities for the mayors of Toronto and Ottawa.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the enhanced authorities, strong mail policy. I think I might save that for like a dedicated stream. I don't, but in short, I don't think that that those policies are um, are good or effective in reducing housing um, cost and housing development, and it reduces the power of councils and local democracy too much. And there were several Militarian and a couple of councils have made comments about this on Twitter. Um, and I know I saw that John Tory is in favor. Um, it's important to recognize that John Tory was the leader of the Conservatives in Ontario uh, at one point. So it could he could be saying that for political reasons um, as well. And yeah, I'll save more for like a dedicated stream on that if I have time. Um, I might I'll make a video. Um, strong mail. Where is it? I'm just going to where it is.
Ottawa. Strong mayor systems will empower municipal leaders to work more effectively with the province to reduce timelines for development, standardize processes, and address local barriers to increasing the supply of housing. For urban populations, these new powers will be especially relevant as the province works with its municipal partners to expand the footprint of transit-oriented communities, so more people can live, work, and play near the convenience of public transit. Your government will also explore partnering with municipalities to leverage surplus provincial lands and add new incentives to build attainable housing that lowers costs for potential buyers and puts home ownership in reach for more families. Building more homes is one of the many ways your government is keeping costs down for families. At a time when the cost of gas has never been higher, Ontario temporarily cut the provincial gas tax rate by May 7 cents per litre, bringing total savings in provincial taxes and charges on gas to 10 cents per litre when combined with the savings realized by eliminating the previous government's cap and trade carbon tax.
Yeah, so at a time when there was conflict with Russia, which was mentioned in the chat, and those shortages of oil, natural gas in Europe, and the climate crisis. Sorry, the climate crisis is still happening, and we can see it with like extreme heat, extreme weather events happening more frequently and more intense. Um, it's disappointing that the government is highlighting the the fossil fuel subsidy as public policy, and uh, there was no measures to support people with using mass transportation. Um, it was just for people using vehicles, um, gas vehicles in particular. Um, and yeah, I also understand that gas is expensive, and um, yeah, but I don't think that was good government policy. Um,
Your government removed road tolls from highways 412 and 418 in Durham Region and eliminated the cost of renewing license plates, saving most drivers $120 per year per car, or $60 per year in Northern Ontario.
yeah, those two items will like well over $1 billion, and then the government said that they don't have enough money for healthcare. The federal government isn't providing enough for healthcare. Um, so yeah, yeah, that's a frustrating. Um,
Parents of young children will soon see the cost of daycare drop dramatically, with the province having negotiated a fair childcare deal with the federal government. And your government will give Ontario workers a hard-earned raise when it increases the minimum wage to $15.50 per hour on October 1, 2022. As inflation drives the cost of living higher, these actions are helping to blunt the impact on household budgets by putting more money back into Ontarians' pockets. Your government is providing real relief to families at a time when it's needed most.
okay, yeah, I'm just seeing where I am on the Twitch. Oh yeah. So I just have to go to this one.
Ontario is a remarkable province. It's where the world gathers in pursuit of opportunities not available anywhere else. Good jobs and rewarding careers. Livable, vibrant communities. Where differences in faith and backgrounds are celebrated and respected. This is our Ontario. A place where potential is limited only by the scale of our shared ambition. Your government recognizes this potential and has a bold vision for the future of this province. But this isn't something your government can do alone. Realizing the promise and potential of Ontario will require all hands on deck. It will include collaboration with workers, businesses and union leaders, partnership with municipalities and the federal government, and it will involve working side by side with Indigenous leaders and communities toward meaningful reconciliation. Together, let's build Ontario. To mark the occasion of Expo 67, the government of Premier John Roberts commissioned a song to capture the energy, creativity, and dynamism of a growing province.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of cases where Ontario is not moving towards reconciliation. Um, and like I mentioned this earlier, but eliminating the Indigenous focused school curriculum. Um, but yeah, we're almost at the end of the chat. Uh, the phone speech. Um, so yeah, if you're still here, what are your thoughts on the phone speech? I don't know if anyone is still here.
Province. Written by Dolores Clayman and Richard Morris, A Place to Stand, helped to define an era during which Ontario more confidently developed its sense of self, its place in Canada, and the world. Today, more than half a century later, and during another time of endless potential, their lyrics still ring true. Give us a place to stand. Give us a place to grow. And call this land Ontario. A place to live for you and me. With hopes as high as the tallest tree. Give us a land of lakes. And a land of snow. And we will build Ontario. Ontario, let's get building. Miigwech. Thank you. Merci. Related topics.
Oh.
Government.
Yeah, so that was the throne speech of Ontario. I don't think it doesn't look like anyone's still here, but yeah, my thoughts on it overall is more building, more highways, open sprawl, while like they're doing they're doing environmental damage that way. A lot of binary language still. Um, um, and they're not doing enough to address the healthcare as they say they are. Um, there was, really wasn't that much different than what they have been doing over the last 4 years. And yeah, yeah. So if anyone's still in the chat, is there anything that you would like me to talk about? Um, any environmental news that you'd like to discuss? If not, I am on Discord. I'll see what I'm called on Discord. Um, let's see. I'm just pulling it up. I'm called Ribolt 88A and Environmental Soup. If you look me up there, um, and then please feel free to suggest topics on environmental and social issues. Um, and I primarily focus on stuff that's happening in Ontario and Canada. Um, anyways, thank you for listening to the stream and enjoy the uh, rest of your day. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I think I didn't. Oh well. I didn't record any of that. Um, but that's okay. Um, I'll remember for the next time.